as we show you here, from 2017, so it's a 10-year period that we're looking at, and we have information from the previous years. As you can see, we have a steady decline in enrollment that's going to impact us moving forward. Now, I always tell people, we do these presentations because I saw in the newspaper the other day that financial crisis is causing us to do this. What we're saying is we're not in financial crisis. What we're saying is if we do nothing, we will be. So we're being proactive. We're getting out in front. We're providing people with the information so that they can see where we are, so there are no surprises. It's an effort for us to be proactive and very transparent in how we're operating. So with that being said, as you can see, we begin to drop to a stabilizing number somewhere around 2,300 students for a significant period of time in the district. We have each of the school numbers where they will fall over that period of time. In that demographic study, some of the factors that were mentioned was that the community is getting older, there aren't as many kids, people are keeping their homes longer and have graduated out. We have also, this information is figured in with our feeder information, so we know what the patterns for our feeders coming into us. And the demographic study is online and is available for you to download if you want to take a look at it. All of the information here, we've been very transparent in getting that information up so that you can take a look at it as well. I'll take it.
Where's that? Because I spoke around on the website.
We'll let you know. We'll have you exactly where those are here so that you can go directly to it and take a look at it. In terms of repairs, we worked with external partners. One of the things that I want people to understand is we didn't, here in the district, pull these numbers out just from out of the blue. We hired an engineering firm that came in and they walked through every nook and cranny of every school that we have. They tested doorknobs, they tested lights, they looked at every square inch of every one of our schools. It was quite extensive in terms of the report. But from that report, we then went to our external architects and our external construction partner to then take a look at what was quoted and the actual prices to repair and fix those things. So those things have been vetted through professional groups, professional organizations that have been doing this for an extremely long period of time to give us this data and this information. So as you can see, as I have here on this slide, we've broken it down in terms of 0 to 5 year cost, 6 to 10 years, and 11 to 20 years. As you know, when you start getting to 11 to 20 years, those 0 to 5 year costs are probably back again. So as you go out, the longer you go out to repair and fix things, the worse they become. And then those things that you repaired 20 years ago now also need to be repaired. So it is a cycle. But the one thing that we have noted is the replacement cost, meaning what that building is currently worth in terms of replacing it as is, and the actual amount of repair costs down below it. So as you can see, the replacement cost for Rich Central is $40 million. The forecasted repairs are at $40 million. That's just a repair. Those aren't upgrades. Those aren't new things that are added on to the facilities. Those aren't new things that help move us into the 21st century in terms of programming. It's just repairs. At Rich East, the projected replacement cost of Rich East is somewhere around $42 million. The projected repair cost is around $60 million. At Rich South, the projected replacement cost for Rich South is $42 million, and the projected repair cost at Rich South is $32 million. So there's still value there in terms of, replacement cost as it relates to the repairs for Rich South. As we look at the declining enrollment and the amount of repairs, this is kind of the slide that I was talking about earlier. When I say we're not in a financial crisis, we still have good reserves, we still have operating funds, we're not in jeopardy of cutting or closing or moving things. But as you can see, by the year 2022, 2023, if we do nothing, we're right at that $2,000 negative reserve mark. And then the following year, as you can see, it really begins to escalate. And that's when we are in a financial crisis. So what we're saying is, right now, we have really good, stable funding. We've been really good at trying to find some efficiencies. We've been really good at creating budgets as requested by the board that remain balanced. But as we continue to operate as is, as you can see with the declining enrollment and the repairs and things of that nature, we start to see a significant decline in where we are. So as I mentioned earlier, we shared this information from December 11th to around January 11th. We had discussions with students, we had discussions with staff, we had community forums, very similar to this. And then in January, we sent out emails to our parents so that they also could get involved and let us know in terms of what they thought, some of the things that we should be considering. So we've been very transparent, working very hard to keep this information out in front. So the summary of the results from those previous thought exchange gave us some recommendations as it related to our facilities. Those results are close one school, consolidate campuses, consider the enrollment trend data, and make sure that the board operates in a very transparent manner as it relates to its decision making. One of the things that I know that is out there in the public is that the Board of Education has been behind closed doors working with the board of 210, which is Lincoln Way. That is false. In fact, we've had FOIAs that people have asked for about our conversations with the board of Lincoln Way. We have no responsive documents because that hasn't happened. So I just want to make sure that that piece is talked about here in terms of eliminating that rumor that the board is secretly going out and moving back and forth to do things behind closed doors. Now, we have had conversations with the superintendent over at Lincoln Way so that we could understand that building. As if we're going to present that as an option, we'd have to at least go put eyes on it and make sure that we have information so that we can be prepared and share accurate information with the Board of Education. But in terms of the board and people doing deals behind closed doors, those things are absolutely false. So with that, we presented those options to the board. The board asked us to create options based on those recommendations. We worked hard to pull that information together. Now, I want to make sure before I give the microphone to Dr. Evans as she walks through each of these options, I want to make sure that a couple of things that are said up front. One, we had to develop these options based on cost of what we know. People have asked me, well, what would it cost? What's the savings when you consolidate? We have not gone that deep because we don't know which it would be a tremendous amount of information and work to go that deep for every one of these options. Once the board gives us some guidance in terms of where they want us to head, then we can dig deeper into some of the other information that has been requested. These are just options for people to consider based on the data and the information and the numbers that we have currently. So as you can see, there are 6 options there. I am going to turn the microphone over to Dr. Alicia Evans. She is the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations for Rich Township High School District 227.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for your time coming out and listening to us. So as Dr. Thomas stated, we're going to present 6 options to you. The first option is to repair all facilities with no upgrades. The second option is to address the repairs and also to upgrade all 3 facilities. Options 1 and 2 would have 3 facilities or 3 buildings still open. Option number 3 will be to consolidate to 2 schools. And in this option, there are 3 options because we wanted to look at the schools themselves and the pricing for each one. So there's going to be option 3A, 3B, and 3C. That option 3 would leave 2 schools. Option 4 is to build 1 new facility, which would leave 1 school. And then option 5 would be to build 1 new facility, upgrade an existing site. Option 6 is to purchase a new building and renovate an existing site. Option 5 and 6 would leave 2 school buildings. So in order to look at the information that we're going to give you today, I wanted to be able to show you some information to help you understand the decision that needs to be made. So I wanted to give you the cost estimates, the timeline for completion of each option, the financing mechanism. I also want to state that your tax payments related to this matter would stay the same for the first 2 years. When we look at financing, I want to say that school districts can only borrow up to a certain amount. They have statutory debt limits. And in order to increase those or change them, we would have to go to the Illinois State Legislature to change that. So some of the options will require that. That would be step 1. Step 2 would be the referendum, which would be the question on the ballot asking taxpayers if they would like for their property taxes to be increased. And then I am also just going to give you what the percentages in your property tax bill would be. So each option will spell out that information for you. The first option is to repair all facilities, no upgrades. This would leave us with 3 school buildings like we have now. That would be Central, East, and South. The time period is the summer of 2021 through 2027 for everything to be completed. You should understand that if no decision is made, that these timelines can be pushed off longer. So the longer it takes to make the decision, it could impact the timeline. So the total for option 1 is $1,069.6 million. This option would require a change in legislation. It would require a referendum, and the overall increase in the property tax bill would be 3%. The overall increase in the portion related to Rich Township 227 would be 9%, and the overall increase in the bond amount would be 109%. Option 2 would be to upgrade all facilities and to address the repairs. The upgrades would include a new field house, pool, and secure entries. The total for this option would be $399.5 million. It would be the same timeline as option number 1, beginning in the summer of 2021 and ending in the summer of 2027. This too would require change in legislation, also a referendum. The increase in property tax overall will be 15%. The school-related portion will be 41%, and the bond amount will be 560%. Option number 3, and the option number 3 has 3 options associated with it. This would be to upgrade and consolidate to 2 schools in the district. There will be 2 schools remaining. The first would be to upgrade Rich Central and Rich East and demolish South. That total is $285 million. The timeline is the same as in the first 2 options. I call this option B. We're keeping Central and South and demolishing East. That total is $241.6 million. The timeline is the same. This option is 3C. In this option, we keep East and South and demolish Central. The cost is $282 million. The timeline is the same as in the other options. In all of these options, there will be 2 schools remaining. For option 3, it would require a change in legislation and a referendum. Pricing is a little different, but the overall increase will range from 7 to 9%, depending on which option is selected. The portion of the rich would be 19 to 25, and the bond amount would be $237. Option 4, there will be 1 building left. This 1 building would house all 3,000 students. We would build a new facility, again housing 3,000 students. We would demolish the other 2 buildings. The new building would be built on an existing site. So it would be Central, South, or East side in our townships. It will be done over a series of summers, 2021, 2025, and the cost for that is $367.9 million. This also will require a change in legislation. It requires a referendum. The increase in all tax bills is 14%. The rich portion, 37%, and the property tax bond portion is 458%. Option 5 would be to build 1 new facility, partially upgrade an existing building. In this example, the building that remains is south. It is south because that is the one that is the least costly to repair. And I would have 3 options if we presented this option showing all of this things. So we want to hold the program. In this case, we will have 1 new building that houses 2,000 students. We will keep the South Campus that would house about 1,000 students. We will demolish the other 2. The cost for this is $288.2 million. It will be done during, all of this will be done during 2021 and 2022. This also requires a change in legislation and a referendum. The percentage increase in the tax bill will be 10%. Percentage in the rich portion, 25%, and the bond portion, 118%. Option number 6. This would leave 2 buildings again. So we would purchase Lincoln Way, Because we're sort of in the timeline right now, the summer of 2019 may not be the summer that this happens. We would upgrade one facility, which again, in this example, is south. That total is $105.6 million. This does not require a change in legislation. It doesn't require a question on the ballot, but it does require some financing options. First, we would do a lease purchase, and then we would do a funding bond to pay that off, and then also use some working cash capacity for this. And again, your bond payments relating to this will stay the same for 2 years. The overall increase to the property tax bill will be 1%. The percentage increase in the Rich Township portion will be 3%, and the percentage increase in the bond portion will be 32%. Yes. This is a summary of the options that you also have in front of you. So now is where we need your help, your assistance. This is going to be the opportunity for us to get your thoughts. So in front of you are Chromebooks where you can go into the thought exchange and let us know how you feel. This information will help us provide information to the Board of Education to assist them in making the decision. I want to say to you that no decision has been made. The information that you're going to provide to us and everyone else is going to provide to us is data that will be used to help to create the final decision. So your thoughts are very important. While you're in the thought exchange, please consider this question. Of the options presented, which do you find the most favorable and why? Indicate the number assigned to the option you are discussing. Feel free, after today, to go into the thought exchange and rate others, add more thoughts. If tomorrow or next week you think about something else, you can enter that information into the thought exchange. You can go into it as many times as you want.
Are you taking questions before people vote?
Hold on. I want to give you the exchange dates. This will be open through July 11, 2019.
Okay, no, we're good, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to drop it in your lap anyway. Make
But you need that 9-digit code.
So right now, we want you to go ahead and go into the exchange. We are going to take questions after you've had some opportunity to put your thoughts into the exchange.
Questions should come first.
Because the reason why is I want you to have your own individual thoughts.
No.
And then we will
We need a
then go
group
in
think on
and
this.
begin to answer questions about the exchange. So go ahead and take a few minutes. If you have a question for me, I'll meet you in the back of the room. You can
No,
talk to me directly. I want us to go ahead and get in and get started with putting your thoughts in.
No, so we're not allowed to communicate with each other directly unless we meet outside of the building? Is that what's going on?
Well,
And
you
that's
will
what
have an
makes this
opportunity.
exchange.
You will have an opportunity to have your thought. But if you have a
Well,
question
we
or a
know
thought,
we have our thoughts. What do you
then
think?
please put it into the thought exchange so that we have it captured. I want everybody to have their own
You want
individual
them
thoughts.
captured, but you don't want us to communicate with each
You
other?
will have an opportunity to communicate with each other, so please go ahead and move forward. We will have an opportunity to communicate with each other. We will ask
This is
questions.
good. You're actually capturing what people have online.
Right.
But it's not
There's
certified
records.
results,
Right.
so your community should be able to speak about it
We
before they're
will have
placing
an
their opinion.
opportunity for people to
Your
speak.
results, yeah, but your results
Please
are
put
certified
your
results.
thoughts
It's not
in.
like it's a
Please put your
referendum.
thoughts in.
You can't use
Why
those
do you not want us
results
to
as law.
speak to each other right now without going through your software?
Because I want
Yeah.
individuals to have their own individual thoughts about what
We have our own individual thoughts.
So please put them into the machine.
There's something missing. big part of that is missing.
We'll have a conversation. Put what's missing into your thought exchange, and then we'll talk about it.
But that's something that everybody should
But
know,
we'll talk
especially
about it.
those that have children.
We'll talk about it.
Yep,
And that's transportation.
yep.
Yep.
We will talk
How are
about
those that are not gonna have a school building in your area, how are we gonna pay for the millions, it costs millions
Yes, it
of
does.
dollars to transport these children to another facility? That's something that should be put in your thought
it.
exchange.
Yeah, the majority of
Nobody on this piece of paper has indicated anything about the millions of dollars it's gonna cost just to transport these children.
Please put that into your thought exchange. We'll give you
There's a lot of unanswered questions. You're being
The
railroaded.
other thing that should be recognized is that,
I don't think you guys understand that with missing information, how can you put thoughts on
Correct.
something with missing
Amen.
information?
Amen.
Just please, if there's something missing, document it in the exchange.
You didn't do a deep enough search. Your numbers are made up.
Feedback to take back to the board of education.
Too much time to go deep. Well, you need to go deep because people need to know how much their taxes are actually gonna increase.
when the idea is presented that we'll only raise your tax bill as a whole by a certain percentage, that is told, you have no control over the other taxing bodies on our tax bill.
We're
You say
gonna go
how
about
much
10 minutes.
we'll
We're gonna go
raise
about 10 minutes.
this, the board's
We're gonna put
tax bill.
information in.
You can't say what
We'll start.
our tax bill was raised by. You have no control over the rest of the taxing bodies that are on our tax bill.
We go about 10 minutes. We'll go
What
about
about
10
other options? You haven't been given all the options.
And where did the numbers come from if they didn't dig deep enough? Because that's my biggest question.
Well, how was it $200 million for us to build 2 buildings and it's $367 million to build 1?
Well, they're also
So if the
upgrading.
citizens want to meet outside the school
Yeah.
district, that's what we'll have to do, to communicate directly with each other. Otherwise, you're going to be going through their control system.
I want to know where the $60 million tag came for Lincoln Way North. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been talking.
They haven't been talking, but they got figures together.
Uh-huh. We get railroad just as easily.
Yep, we already lived it.
Yeah, we've been there, done it. We have the scars to prove it.
Yep.
I really appreciate your efforts to put your thoughts in. I thank you for that. I really
All you
appreciate
can do
it.
is beg these people to raise their voices.
Well, they're doing a pretty good job.
They are. Hopefully it continues. I'll raise my hand and I say different. Yes, there's, wow. So you enter it into a computer where they can erase whatever they don't like.
Right.
Well, that wasn't brought up. What are you talking about?
What's your thoughts? So we can just delete
He's
that.
absolutely right. You're putting it into their controlled system. You got it.
Yep.
You got it.
Oh, and we're limiting the number of characters per thought, too. Oh, come on.
Well, that's when you break up the thought into like multiple sentences. Like,
Is this meeting over?
People are entering their thoughts into the thought exchange, and once they enter their thoughts,
I mean, once that's done, is this meeting over?
then I'll have questions after this thought.
Well, I think the people want the questions, man.
Right.
right.
That messes up the system now.
Well, they could still be typing and we could ask questions at the same time, right? Can't we multitask?
I really appreciate everybody's efforts to put their thoughts in. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, that's right. We wouldn't want to influence anybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Oh my Lord. It does. This is deja vu.
It's
This really
total deja
is.
vu. It's the same thing.
We're going to present you multiple options, but really we're going to present you the one that we want as the cheapest, fairest, best.
Whatever one will make all the other ones undesirable.
Because we'd like to know where the price tag came from. We'd like to know. Because we can't get that information out of our superintendent at 210, so. Right. And I'm calling bullshit on all these numbers, so there you go. Because you haven't done deep enough, you haven't done the full, no, you need to.
Well, yeah, why isn't there an action to close one campus and repair two? That would be about the same as action 6. So why isn't that an option? Because they're making you pick the one that they want.
You've gone in and you've put your thoughts in. I would request that you go ahead and begin to move forward and begin to look at the thoughts that others have put in and begin to star those, are the ones that you agree with. Begin to add your input into those as well. So if you've added your thoughts, I want you to go ahead and move forward and begin to star the ones that you see in and begin to give us ratings on those as well.
And I get the overall tax increase, they're saying your overall tax increase as of right now, if the only thing that the school district would be that percentage. Then I can appreciate, how do they figure that out?
So about 45, you got about 5%.
And he's right, though. You've got all the other taxing bodies that
Still be allowed to go into this information. Right now,
It's always open. It's open until July 11th.
is open.
You can always go in, you can always
Forcing people
go
to
in, you
enter
can always
stuff
go
now.
in.
Not having a conversation.
People think their voice is heard on these computers and they're not.
Right. Because again, the control.
Again, we lived through that too.
Yeah, we don't like what they say, oh, we'll just tell you this way, I guess.
They're not. They're not.
So.
Yeah.
Did you say an exercise in fertility? Pretty much, I would say. Did you put it on your email? For contact info?
For questions and comments, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start over here.
Yeah, my comments first is this. I think this presentation is woefully inadequate for something that is as important as this. I think you guys could have done a much better job of making sure that we are fully aware of all the implications of this approach. To simply just throw dollar signs of what something costs without stating who did it, who did the study, without providing long-term estimates of any cost savings, without providing any studies with regards to projections of economic impacts on the various communities. So there's a lot more information that I think that you guys can and should provide. Whatever those studies cost to get done, I mean, we're looking at a minimum of $100 million. I'm sure we can get some studies done for a severe fraction of those dollars. So I think, you guys ought to go back to the table with regards to getting some more additional information for us.
I appreciate you. Put that in the thought exchange. I appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions?
Good morning, I'm Dr. Bruce. The question I have is, can you share some more information about the firm that did the facility needs assessment and specifically what they identified or some of the criteria that may actually help some of us in the community know more about it?
Yes, so the company that did the work was EMG.
Okay.
They have over 65 years of experience in engineering. They looked at the life expectancy of the building and its contents. They looked at the external portions of the building as well. They were looking at if there were maintenance issues, if there were life safety issues, if there were anything that could be repaired as opposed to replace, and the life expectancy of those items.
Thank you.
And then with that data, we also had that cross-checked with the architects, STR, and also the construction management company, Pepper.
Can you say what those acronyms are? EMG, STR, what does it stand for?
That's the name of the company, EMG.
Is that an acronym, or is that just?
That's the name of the company.
And then STR?
STR is the name of the company as well.
Those are the architects.
Where are they
Where
located?
are they at?
What cities, what county?
Their STR is in Chicago, Pepper is in Chicago. EMG, I have to check that.
EMG is a national firm that has done studies on buildings across the country. And so we'll get you where they are actually located here before we finish out today. We'll go here, then here.
I have so many questions. One of them is the fact that once upon a time, I was a census taker. We have a census coming up next year, 10 years, right? We should wait until after the census is taken before we make any decisions so that we know if we've increased in population or decreased in population. No decision should be made until after that is done. That's just one question.
That makes a lot of sense.
So
Sure does.
I appreciate that. Just know that then, if it does go the other way, you have wasted or spent millions of dollars
Don't
because
fear factor people.
there are safety things that we have to pay for to take care of.
Well, you went through that once another
We
year.
just have to- we just have to
Right,
make sure
right.
that we're aware of the implications of some of the continued delay.
Sounds like a rush.
So I just want to make sure that we're understanding of that.
Could you say anything more about the demographic, the data? I mean, I saw the report briefly, and then you guys have projections as well. But it seems like the numbers only went up to about 2018. So what model did you use statistically? What model did you guys use in order to make those projections for those costs into 2026? And then can you say, please tell me a little bit more about how we collected data, with administrative data, said that they use census data, what kind of data was utilized in order for us to better understand our student population?
That's a very good question. All of the statistical data analysis that was garnered in that report is actually in the report. The demographer is a national demographer. He does not work for us. He's, I believe, out of the University of Kansas, I want to say. And so he has done demographic studies for almost every school district in this state and in the area. His methods, he looks at live birth rates, death rates, he looks at
I just want to know what the data, like, what the data of the administrator, is it census data, like, is it coming directly from the school district?
He collects all of that data. He collects data from the school districts. He collects data from the feeding school districts. He collects data from the municipalities. It is a very comprehensive report in terms of where he gets his information from.
Where is this report?
It is on our website.
Where? What's the path?
It is under the business office. It is under the business office on the right corner. It is there because I had a reporter just pull it not too long ago.
And can you ask me my second question? The statistical model, what is the statistical model for projecting?
That is in the report. I don't have the report here in front of me in terms of, you can pull that report and read all that information.
The only reason I ask is because we have people in the room who would benefit from having more valid information. And when we talk about making projections, especially projections that impact our tax payments, right? It's valuable to know how you guys came up statistically.
Yeah, I just want to point out, we did all of that in our first round of meetings when we went over the demographic. We held those community forums and we talked about those things.
Yeah, right, very good.
That piece, I don't have the statistical data analysis of the report memorized in my head, but the report is available very transparently for everyone to go and take a look at.
They use a simple graph. I know what the student capacity are you doing in the schools?
What do you say?
How many students can they accommodate? Including
So you're talking about our current capacities. We run roughly about 2,000 in each of the schools, but that is I think we're starting to get really crowded. If we pack them at 2,000, probably about 1,800 is very, very comfortable. And then from what I understand in terms of the capacity of Lincoln Way, it's probably about 2,300 comfortably, 2,500.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Nope.
The functional capacity is 2,200.
Yeah, well, that's what I said, about 2,300 function, comfortable.
I have a question about,
I love how he keeps
I know you all are using this for your presentation for the next board, but could you modify this document so you could add some columns that says legislative action required referendum, so you can see that on this form. It just shows having up there, but it's not on this form.
Yeah, it is. The referendum's needed,
But it did
legislation is
get
needed.
on.
It's one and the same.
Thank you.
Dr. Thomas, I have a quick question. Thank you. I'm wondering if you can explain where the number, 367 or 369, I can't remember which it is, to build one new building came from, because our bond 8 years ago, 9 years ago, however long ago, 10 years ago, 225 million, and 25 million of that was for life safety improvements. So we, on our referendum, approved a $200 million expense for 2 buildings. I'm curious why it's 367 or 369 for one now.
When you say our
building,
where are you from?
I am from Lincoln Way. I graduated from Rich Central. My mom is still a taxpayer.
Okay, great. So you said our bond, meaning Lincoln Way North?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. 225 million was the total amount. 25 million was for life safety improvements on the older
Existing
facilities.
2 buildings.
Yeah.
And then
Which
200
were
million was to build
misappropriated,
2.
which is why partly our superintendent's been indicted.
So how many years ago was it?
That was, the referendum was in 2006. I don't think inflation was that much.
Based on the information we have from our architects and building managers, the cost is based on current cost with a per square footage amount as the multiplier. And it's about $90,000 per student.
Okay, so what would the functional capacity of this $367 million building be?
So it would be, for the new facility, would be 3,000 students.
Okay. So not that much bigger than one of our $100 million facilities. Yeah,
It's 1,000 students.
it's a lot of money.
Everybody, it is 1,000 student difference. I mean, it is
Not
probably
that much
1.5.
money.
And in addition, you're talking 10 years, 12
700
years ago.
students, 700, 800 actually.
Hi,
I'd still push them.
the problem I have with the situation, not with the information, because I'm not going to judge the process you guys went through to gather information. I'm not going to rate or disparage that in any kind of way. The problem that I have is that this information is incomplete for the type of decision I have to make. It is not taking in fully the interests that I have, and my interests are not solely as to what the cost of one building is to another building. I have to also factor in my student at the school they're at now, at the new school it becomes, and what that impact is going to have on my student, my family, my finances. That is not reflected in the information I have today.
That is truly appreciated. I think for us, we also need further guidance. Like, so for us to go in and have all of that figured out, we need to narrow these options down so that we know exactly which one we're focusing on. Right now, there are 6 large options that are out there that we have to consider. We know the impact just from a cost standpoint that it's going to have on the tax bills, but that's the purpose here. I just want to make sure that everyone understands, you know, no decision is made. The board is just trying to get as much information they can so that they can give us guidance on what's next. And so that is the work in terms of where we are and what we're trying to accomplish.
Excuse me, can I add one more thing in here to follow up on that statement then, since you brought that up? The risk we have here then with the options and presenting this and talking about what the possible referendums are is if there's dissatisfaction and dissentiment in the room, you're going to get no's when you may get a yes if you have more information to support what we want to do. That is how you're going to get these kind of things done. We can't do the part of the information saying that you can't make your decision with part. So come at us when you have more of that information and give us time to absorb it also.
Appreciate that.
Has there been any research done on the effects of the community when a high school closes?
Oh, we can tell you. We'll tell you.
Have you
It's
done
not good. That's just a
any
general term.
You know,
There's
research
some social
from
media
this?
about this, and they're upset.
In terms of the research that I have looked at personally, there are probably an equal number of research articles on either side. A lot of the factors depend on the quality of what was happening for those students. So depending on the quality and what was happening, the depth of programming, some research articles said that there are detrimental effects for areas that are having huge community connections. There are huge linkages between the school and the area in which is affected.
Mental health
And then
issues.
some have said, you know, because there's been a huge disconnect and because there isn't that nexus between community and school, that it has had a positive impact if the replacement or if there is some accurate plan for replacement. I'm going to go over here.
Seriously? Continue doing it, sure. I'll keep it up, I'll keep it.
I think I saw something up on the board earlier that said students first. So I'm going to ask, what research was done to figure out what any of these options would have in terms of impacting the students?
That's an excellent question. Excellent.
Yeah, so in the initial piece, we did survey the students in terms of their current situation. These options have not been presented to the students only because they're not available to us right now.
I think you're misunderstanding. I'm not talking about surveying 15, 16, 17 year olds. I'm talking about educated, knowledgeable people that have gone and said, okay, based on these options and changes, this is going to affect these students, whether it's loss in their time, because all of a sudden now, instead of getting on a bus at 6:30, they got to be on a bus at 5:30. Relocating outside of their neighborhood, and God knows how it is likely to affect the student.
Yeah,
What has been done, period, to assess the impact on these students? Because if it's a first, then I want to know that's where you start.
Right, and so for me, the start is those 16, 17, or 8-year-olds they are credible, they are knowledgeable, they do know what's going to impact them. So I never want to discount our ability to talk to them. The other piece is we do have information about the current situation that they're in, and then looking at the options for improvement. That's why we're here. We know that the current state in which they're in needs to change. And so we're saying, no one has made any decision about, I think a lot of the feeling is there's a decision made about the options. No one has made any decision about any of the options. We just are trying to gather as much input so that we can go back to the Board of Education and say, here's where people are comfortable, here's where they're not comfortable, here's the feedback that we've gotten as a result of going out.
Real quick, I got to interject there, because to say that there's been no decision on the option, that's bull, because to come up with options, there's had to be some decisions made. Okay? But secondly, I think whatever information or data you guys have in regards to the impact on the students, get back to a couple of points that have already been made, I think it is pretty much insulting to bring this kind of information to people, asking them to make a decision when there is woefully inadequate data. Like, understanding the impact on the students, that's something I want to see on that board, other than just this flat row of cost projections.
If I may say something for a second, I want to make it real clear. I'm one of your 7 board members. I have not made a yay or a nay on any one of these decisions yet. And the reasons why is I'm a community member and I pay taxes like you. And a lot of my members of my community are leaving their homes and walking out because they do not have enough money to pay their taxes. So I'm trying to make sure that whatever decision I make impacts 2 things. I want to know how is it going to impact the students. I'm always conscious of students first. So I have not made a decision yet. And I'm also, and my notes right here says student thoughts. My notes say parents' thoughts. My notes say pull financial experts in our community together and sit and talk around the table at Hidden Manor Restaurant. So there are a lot of things that we're doing outside of listening to comments like this. But the thing is, I want to hear which direction does our community want to move in. So I'm sitting back quietly and taking my notes because I need to know. I haven't made a vote yet.
But
now the other thing I want you to understand is,
decision. That's the direction I want.
Right, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get informed information. Now, the other thing I want to share with you is the Board of Education made a decision to send the superintendent out into the community to collect this information because the board represents you. There's 7 of us, and we're a reflection of you. So the questions that you have, trust me, the 7 board members have the same questions. None of us are sure of what we're doing yet. And so they have to learn just like you. So as you ask these questions, when I go back to the board meeting, I'm going to say, like I did the last board meeting, what I heard from the last conversation that the community had. This meeting is going to be the same thing. I don't want to take up your time, but I will be sharing that people are unhappy because they don't feel like they have the most information. Even if I print all the paperwork and pass it out myself, will that be enough? This decision is very difficult, and we're going to have to make a decision sooner or later. If you go back and Google 2012, closing of Rich Township High School District, one of the buildings, you will see me standing in front of you fighting back in 2012 saying, we must do something now or we're going to be forced to close a building later. That was in 2012. This is 2019 and the doors, and we're knocking on the door. So no, I have not made a decision yet. I'm still up in the air. I'm still putting my feelers out there to find out which direction we want to go. And I'm going to be a reflection of somebody in this room, somebody in our community, and there's 6 other members that will reflect your same thoughts. Just get to know who we are and know what the reflections are. I encourage you to come to the board meetings so you'll hear those reflections.
Okay, I have time for 3 more questions.
Are you freaking kidding
Let
me?
me say real quick, if you can, I'll hand it over. My name is Randall White. I'm a commissioner out of Park Forest. I'm also on the member of board 163 in Park Forest. So I want to state this. Number one, let's look at it from this standpoint, because I know a lot of hostility comes this way. He can't do anything without the board. And I respect and I admire even one of the board members here that's here today. But our questions, our push, our concern has to be on our elected officials and not necessarily turn the hostility just towards Dr. Thomas. And I'm not taking up for him because I have to, that's just right. And then number 2, back to what you said, the Park Forest community have stood up several times, even with our mayor and our elected officials. We do not, and let's state this loud and clear, the community, if you're representing the community, we do not want Richie's closed. That is number 1. That is a fact. Richie's we don't want closed. How it affects students in the community is this way. We have 3 schools where we have different sports teams, different activities. Imagine that you go down to one school where you have 15 kids on a basketball team at this school, 15 on this school, 15 on this school. That's scholarship opportunities for all of those kids. You have one team now. Statistics state that when a kid is involved with sports and activities in his school, they succeed even more. They're going to affect the community, number 1, with that aspect. And number 2, Park Forest is a community that is on a lifeline. Taking away our community school is going to hurt our community and plunge us down even further. So Park Forest is speaking up. We do not want and we will not support politicians or elected officials that are looking to close our neighborhood school. But I do want to state this, the hostility cannot be towards Dr. Thomas. It has to be towards our elected officials because he can't do anything without the votes. So he's not being pushed towards that.
My arm hurts.
For the board, and the superintendent, I believe that the information that you guys are gathering shouldn't be from one person, one engineer, or one construction company. Because those numbers can be inflated and they can be superficial. Pepper Construction is one of the largest construction companies around. And their numbers are
You have to get at least 3 bids.
3 bids.
At least.
Very high. So I believe you guys need multiple estimates for each aspect of getting the repairs done or getting the school built or whatever aspect of anything that has to be done.
I just want to make sure that as I continue to operate transparently, just the engineering report alone was $65,000.
We'll pay
So
for
as
it.
long as we understand the cost to do these
No offer is made, so you come back with that $60 million offer. Okay.
Here, and then I'm going to end with my comment over here.
Okay, hi, from 210 here. At our last board meeting, our superintendent stated very explicitly in public, an open meeting, that there has been no viable offer put on the table by any group that has been looking at our building. However, I would love to know where that $60 million tag comes from for Lincoln Way. Now, hold on. Let me just put it to you this way. What if you do take that $60 million price tag to Lincoln Way North and they say, nope, sorry, you're going to come back to everybody who just voted on that because why? school, it looks the prettiest to the taxpayer.
On purpose.
On purpose, probably. Again, you're lacking some information here again, let's remember that. And so what, the board's then gonna say, oh God, sorry guys, our bad, we didn't know how much we actually had to pay for said facility. So now you're out 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and you've waited for what? Your census at that point in time. So, again, I think this really needs, we learned. 5 options were given to us. Our school was closed in 90 days, guys. 90 days. Over a summer, mind you, when nobody really is paying attention. So just remember that. Please, you guys, I behoove you to remember that. So.
I also think it's important to remember that we've invited you here, and you're here with us, and we're talking to you directly. We're sharing information that we have based on information. So we are here, and nobody's trying to do anything.
But where did the price tag come from? You didn't answer my question.
So we've done our homework. We do understand the cost estimates based on the square footage.
From who?
Based on we've done our own homework on that.
Well, we have a bond that's due. You can't leave us in the dust to pay for a building that our kids don't go to.
I'm here, and my last one is over there. If you have a question for me, I will stick around and answer your question.
Hi, I'm Colleen. I started a Facebook group sitting here called Save Our Southland. I encourage everyone, administrators, faculty, teachers, school, we need a grassroots effort, not driven by the school board or the superintendents, which I truly believe, honestly, everyone wants, but we need a centralized place to answer all these questions, to gather information, to take advantage of the lessons that the people from 210 learned. They had bad information, made a bad decision, complicated by the fraud of that district. We need to slow down here. One of the things that I've been wrestling with lately on saving our district is how we can bring our tax bill down. This chart of 162, 159, looking at all that enrollment data and in talking with state legislators and local politicians and local school board members, why aren't we slowing down and talking about consolidating K through 8? I am frustrated beyond belief at the loaded salaries, and I know we need great administrators, but let's face it, on our tax bill, we've got 5 district offices, 5 superintendents. How many, is there been some thought to what kind of a cost savings? It makes no sense to me.
You guys have a superintendent's double dips in 2 different schools.
Analysis of all 6 of these options, and we need consolidated K through 12 to really bring our tax bills down.
Yes, consolidation.
I've been working with Katie on what we can do to improve our tax bills. And if you look at your tax bill, the majority of it is local municipalities and school districts. This is an opportunity, a tipping point, where we can really do some things. I also wanted to ask about the capital bill. What money was brought back to this district to any sort of money in the capital bill that was just passed by Pritzker to do some of these repairs? I know there was repair money. I saw where millions were supposed to come back to each state representative and each senator in their district. Any ideas? That needs to be factored in. I think that moving forward with some decision right away is a huge mistake. So I encourage everyone to come see me. Let's exchange information. What kind of a time frame are we talking on these referendums? How soon? Are we going to ask? Yeah. So please come see me.
So just that there are a lot of questions in there. We have not looked at consolidating any of the governmental entities. That's something that we know that from the legislative standpoint, that's something that they're working on to try to put some things in place to give some relief. The other piece, I also know that for us in terms of just trying to find some efficiencies and working together as a unit, we have been doing that. We've asked our business officials to get together to try to find some, because we purchased 5 or 6 different ways to see if we can align purchases in a way. So we are looking at trying to find some efficiencies that can help with overall operating costs. The other piece is, I just the other day, and you can probably Google it, CNN did a report on the crumbling infrastructure of the United States schools, and there's roughly about I think it was like $212 billion needed in repairs across the country. The highlighted state in terms of where they highlighted the story was in Illinois. And we're not alone in our infrastructure crisis. And we think that there may be some capital money, around $1 million or $2 million, to help fix buildings. As you can see, a lot more is needed. I have one last comment over here, and then if you have a question for me, I will make myself available.
Many of you think we have the only problem. This is a universal problem all over the world. Case in point, go to the west side of Chicago and see how many schools they boarded up on the west side. South Shore High School a few years ago. They put up a north building, brand new building, beautiful building. It was there for 8 years. They tore it down and put another building up on 830 Jefferson. So we can't solve all these problems in 1 hour like you want the superintendent to do. Yes, we have a problem, and we're gonna work with the problem, and all of us, and we get together, we can do what we want to do. No one can stop you with yourself. Thank you.
With that being said, I want to thank you all for coming out today. It's important, even after you've heard this discussion, you still have an opportunity to go ahead and put your thoughts into the thought exchange. It's always there. It will be open until July 11th. That information we are collecting to help guide us in terms of next steps and what it is that we want to do. So there are a lot of comments made that should be in there.